Oops. I don't know if I'm streaming right now. Oh, it says I am streaming. Oh god. I just checked on my channel. It looks like it has the Minecraft thumbnail. That's not good. That's my bad. I'll change that later. Okay, hold on. It's gonna... Oops, no, that's not the link I want to post. I'm just gonna post the link in some other servers. Oh my god, it's the it's the Minecraft. Okay. 1 second, I'm just gonna post these in like Discord and stuff, the links. Livestream response to the debunk of veganism. Hi Michael! Hello! You're on top of that. I just started streaming and you're already here. That's awesome. Okay, I'm just gonna post it in my server. Tag the YouTube subscribers. Live streaming a response to a debunk of veganism. I spelled veganism wrong. 1 second, veganism. There we go. Oh my god, it's the freaking Minecraft. Okay. Hello, Ellie. Hello, everybody. I got it. Okay, that thumbnail is changing me, but like it's too late to change it now. Okay, I'll tag Streamlads. There we go. Alright. By the way, this video was posted in Ellie's server by MJ, so I cannot take credit for finding it. But I watched like the first minute or so, and it didn't seem that intelligent, and I was like going through the comments, and the comments are pretty bad as well. Although there were some vegans in there. We can probably go through the comments later. But anyway, okay. Oh wait. Yes, okay. Could probably get started then. 2:45 a.m. Oh my god, I'm flattered you guys are like here watching this stream instead of sleeping, although I can't say that's probably the best decision on your part. Alright, I'm gonna play the video and oh, who's tagging me in Discord? Oh, okay, yes, okay. Awesome. So I am going to play the video and then I'm going to pause it and you guys can tell me if it's like too loud or whatever. And hopefully it won't be. Okay. How was that? I don't want to risk it like blasting your eardrums and sitting here playing it for forever. I'm at work, your stream is too early. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to like stream earlier because I get super tired at night and I'm like, didn't blast? Okay, okay. Alright, then hopefully the volume is good. A little more preview. Oh, okay. Let's go.
Hello.
Oh, he talks quieter than the music. Okay. Is that good, everybody? I should turn down the latency on the stream, shouldn't I? Oh well, that's okay. Yeah, because I just don't want to risk like getting in halfway into the video and then realizing everyone told me that he was quiet. Okay, let's turn it up.
Cows can save the world, which is probably the exact opposite that most people...
Alright, how is that? Alright, MJ's here. MJ, don't worry, I credited you for finding the video. I saw you posted it in Ellie's server. So thank you for linking the video. I can respond to it. It's good now? I hope... was that in reference to the volume? I don't know. Alright. I'll see if anyone else says anything. I'm assuming if people don't start yelling at me that they can't hear or that it's too loud, that it's fine. That's what I'm assuming. Back to work. Oh, okay, bye Ken. I'm glad you're going back to work because I feel like that. Oh wait, no, you're gonna make someone to respond to it. Oh, okay. Alright. Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna assume that the volume's good. I'll keep an eye on the chat, so if it's not, I'll know. But anyway, let's just start over at the very beginning, because right off the bat, I'm pretty sure he was he was already presenting some pretty bad ideas, but let's just go ahead and appears to be fine. Oh, hello, FVL. Cool to see you here. It's always good to have a lad in chat. Alright. Oh, oops! I knocked the microphone. I'm so sorry. I don't know if that was loud. Okay. Anyway, let's just let's just respond to it. All right.
Cows can save the world, which is probably the exact opposite that most people have heard.
All right, so in case anyone doesn't know, this video is actually going to be about how we've recently discovered how cows have superpowers, and they're single-handedly going to save the world. Anyway, let's just keep watching this. Sorry, I just wanted to poke fun at that because like the way he phrases it is so funny. Okay.
If you listen to mainstream media or any of these movies.
Okay. Sorry, we're 18 seconds in and I'm pausing it again, but I feel like there's this implication here that mainstream media tends to favor like veganism or vegetarianism, and it's always so interesting to hear like non-vegans or anti-vegans say this, because I feel like a lot of vegans are frustrated with mainstream media because they tend to cover veganism in a pretty bad light. You know, they might have some lip service article here and there about how, producing bacon's kind of bad because it produces carbon dioxide or something, but generally speaking, it's like, what do we see in the media about veganism? Well, we see vegan parents killing their kids. We see how actually lettuce is worse for the environment than bacon, which is that article I responded to. We see, opinion pieces published about how, vegans hate indigenous people. I don't know. I don't know if this is like motivated reasoning or if they just genuinely have only seen pro-vegan stuff in the media, which I wish that was the case, but anyway, let's just keep going.
On Netflix. So.
Okay, I mean, I will give them that. Netflix has had some pretty pro-vegan documentaries released. I don't think I've seen any anti-vegan documentaries released, so I will give them that. Netflix tends to be, pretty good about releasing pro-vegan content on their platform. Anyway.
The current perceptions are red meat is harmful to human health.
Okay, never mind. I'm going to stop pausing this every 3 seconds.
Cows are harmful to the environment, and it's unethical to kill animals for food. So these are the major...
Okay, I'm very interested in seeing what his debunk to the ethical argument is, because, what were the other two? Health and environment? Yeah. Because those are, tend to be rooted in more objective, or what we perceive to be objective truths, or more scientific things, but I'm very interested to see how you're... Okay, anyway, I'll stop stop pausing every few seconds.
There are 3 things that anti-meat activists will tell you, vegan...
Anti-meat activists. I'm also anti-dairy, anti-fur, anti-all of that stuff. So don't just lump me in with the vegetarians, please. Thank you.
And propaganda will tell you. And it turns out that actually none...
Wait, oh my god, wait, what did he say? Vegan propaganda?
Will tell you vegan propaganda will...
Vegan propaganda, okay, when he says that, what does he mean? Does he mean like the actual footage that comes out of the farms that exist that show you exactly what's happening? like does he think that we like hired cow actors and we're like, okay, now in this scene, because I've noticed that people tend to paint documentaries like Dominion as like propaganda, and I'm like, well, that's real footage, like it's not fake, it's not... Anyway, okay. I would be very interested in hearing him describe what exactly he means when he says vegan propaganda.
Will tell you. And it turns out that actually none of them are really true once you dig into them. So we're going to go...
Ooh, none of them are true. This isn't just a case where, vegans have, some faulty science, some faulty opinions when it comes to science, which I would actually agree with. I find that there's a very big problem within the vegan community about promoting pseudoscience, and like an example of that would be like, oh, milk causes osteoporosis, that sort of thing. But no, he goes for almost all of it's untrue. So let's see what he's going to say.
Go one by one through those. So I believe that cows can save human health.
All right, just right off the bat, if he's going to start getting into how, like, meat is healthy for you or whatever, I'm not, the relevant point isn't necessarily whether meat is healthy. I tend to think that the health argument for veganism is the worst argument, because you don't actually get to the conclusion of full veganism through the health argument. Someone could settle for plant-based and still be pretty healthy. So the relevant point is not whether meat is healthy or you can be healthy eating meat. The relevant point is whether you can be healthy as a vegan, right? And so that's what he would have to debunk if he's going to start going this health route. But anyway, let's just keep going. Let's see what else he has to say.
Red meat is a superfood. People like to talk about, berries from the Amazon, or, some like wacky little, gimmick that they try to make money on. But really the superfood is animal foods, and we've known this for all of history.
The superfood. The superfood. Not just one of the superfoods, but the superfood. Okay, interesting.
So this is a big question to me. Most people know that meat was crucial in development as...
Wait. No. Wait. This seems to be implying like a causal relation. This is what Ablaze did too, I think. He seems to be implying that there was a causal relationship between meat consumption and the development of humans. He would have to prove that. He can't just be like, oh, well, most people know this. Like, how do most people know this? Well, maybe he'll tell us. I don't know. Maybe if I stopped pausing the video every 3 seconds, we would know. Anyway.
As humans. Yet we're told today that somehow it's bad for us.
Oh my god. Well, we ate meat in the past and we've been fine up until now, and now you're saying meat isn't fine, so I don't understand. Well, I mean, alright, let's just steel man his argument real quick. Let's say that we did eat meat in the past and that there was a causal relationship between that and the development of our brains or the development of our species, which, by the way, I don't think is actually true, but we're just steel manning his argument, right? Okay, that's irrelevant as to whether we need to continue eating it now, because obviously with the technology we have, we're not out there living in caves and like killing dinosaurs. Every historian's like cringing right now. I'm sorry, that was a joke, by the way. That was a joke. Anyway, let's keep going.
It's really interesting how that works, where you ask the same person this, and they'll say, yeah, you know, I see the cave paintings. Yeah, we ate animals.
Cave paintings. Okay, that's a funny interpretation of the caveman though argument. It's cave paintings though. Okay. I mean, there's also cave paintings of people murdering each other. Should we be doing that too? What's his name? I don't know what his name is. I can't name it my name. Anyway.
But then they're like, oh yeah, but it's bad for you. Like, why? Why is red meat bad for you? They can't tell you.
Okay. When he says they can't tell you, I'm interested in knowing what exactly he means by this. If he means, like, you know, a vegan says, well, red meat's bad for you. And then he says, well, why? And they go, and they can't actually provide an answer. I would wholeheartedly disagree with that, right? Because whether or not you think it's true, vegans will typically say something like, well, it causes cancer, well, it causes heart disease. Like, they'll give you a reason. Whether or not that reason is actually true, you know, is a different question. But anyway.
So when you start looking at the other side of things, you know, we can show correlation between, you know, people who eat fruits and vegetables are healthy. People who eat grains might be healthy. But that doesn't tell us that the grains are healthy. When you look at the opposite.
Yeah, that doesn't, I would say that doesn't necessarily tell us that the grains are healthy, but if he is saying that people can be vegan and are healthy, then, I mean, that's kind of all there is to it, right? Because like I said before at the beginning, the question isn't whether meat is healthy, the question is whether you can be vegan and be healthy. And he kind of just admitted that. He just said that there's like a correlation between people who I'm presuming he's saying are vegans. He said fruits and vegetables and grains or whatever, but anyway, he said there's a correlation between like those types of lifestyles and diets and like people who are healthy. So I would already say, like, cool, let's just move on to, like, the next part of this. I'm very tempted to skip forward to wherever the ethics part of this is, but I don't know. It's kind of fun dunking on him, so let's just... And plus, he was liking comments that were, like, hating on vegans, so I don't feel particularly bad about dunking on him. But anyway, let's just keep going.
What about the reverse correlation? So that's really interesting when you look at Asian populations, because they don't have this negative image of red meat. And so in Hong Kong, they eat the most meat in the world. They eat the most animal foods in the world. And guess what? They also have the longest life expectancy.
All right, I'm not actually sure whether this is true because I'm not a science person. I think Avi's in the chat, so you guys can go bug him about it if you want. But again, it doesn't even matter whether that's true or not, because the relevant question is not whether eating meat is healthy or unhealthy. The relevant question is whether you can be vegan and still be healthy. And I mean, that's what I would like to see him address. And it seems like he already agreed that was the case. So I'm not, whatever. Happy to take down that claim. Oh, okay. Maybe later Avi can like hop onto the stream or whatever and talk about it. And I would just sit there and nod and smile because like I don't know about this stuff, but I mean you could talk about it.
So this is a very hard one for these anti-meat people to explain.
No, it's not. It's literally not. I mean, what he's acting like this is some devastating blow to veganism. It literally does not matter if there are people who eat substantial amounts of animal products and are still healthy. It literally does not matter, because the relevant question is not whether eating meat or animal products is like healthy or unhealthy. It's whether you can be healthy as a vegan. Like it's not. Hong Kong is not some devastating blow to veganism. I'm not going to go to the store and buy like some free-range eggs now because Hong Kong exists. Like, okay, whatever.
Explain, right? Why would that be? So this is a great study too, that the risk of mortality for total meat intake and provided evidence of an inverse association with red meat. So
all he did was cite the conclusion of the study. Does he actually meat intake can cause? Okay, yeah, he did. I didn't think he named the study at first. Okay, yeah. Like I said, I don't know anything about the science. I would leave that to Avi, but it doesn't even matter that I don't know anything about the science, or this science specifically, because the relevant question is not whether meat is healthy or unhealthy. The relevant question is whether you can be healthy as a vegan. Just want to bring me on? Oh, okay, Avi. Maybe I could just hop onto Discord with you. Maybe you can take down this stuff. Hold on. Let me I'll just call you on Discord real quick. OBS isn't streaming Discord, is it? No. Okay. Avi?
Okay, so let me just turn refresh log on. Okay, couple things. So the first thing with the Hong Kong and the meat consumption. So yes, Hong Kong consumes a lot of meat. People in Hong Kong consume a lot of meat, but they have a relatively high lifespan. The key you want to look at is what are the...
Oh, wait, hold on. People are saying you're quiet. I'm going to turn you up. Turn up the Discord volume. Volume mixer.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Okay, maybe that's better.
Yeah, the key here is to... So the key here is to look at the lifespan of individuals in Hong Kong who consume meat and who don't consume meat, right? So what would be a really stupid comparison is to look at, say, Americans or actually, let's just take another example. Let's say people in Canada versus people in Hong Kong, and say, people in Hong Kong eat more meat than people in Canada. Well, yeah, they're a completely different population, and there's 1.5 million different confounders between the two. What would be more interesting is if you looked at people in Canada who ate meat and did not eat meat, and looked at their lifespans, and looked at people in Hong Kong and ate meat and did not eat meat, and looked at their lifespans.
Mm-hmm.
Not do a comparison where you're introducing more confounders, not less. For example, in the Seventh-day Adventist Study 1, what they did was they just looked at people who did not consume meat and compared them to the general population. And the obvious problem is that, oh, wait a minute, like, this is a different population. So the Adventist Study 2 just said, okay, well, we'll look at who consumes meat and who does not consume meat within the same population. Like, that's just a basic thing you want to do to control for a whole bunch of other confounders.
Mm-hmm.
And to date, I'm not aware of any comparison within the population of Hong Kong, like comparing Hong Kong meat consumers to non-meat consumers.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, to his second claim that there's an inverse association in Asian countries, well, if you look at the dosage differences, it's like a few grams. The meta-analysis of the prospective cohort studies in Asian countries is distinctly different from Western countries because the dosage difference between those consuming least amount of meat and those consuming most amount of meat are, in Asian populations, minuscule. And in other countries, they're massive. And by minuscule, I really mean on the order of a handful of grams. It's just nothing. And so what we'd be interested in is looking at Asian populations who consume red meat on the level that we do compared to those who do not consume red meat. That would be an interesting comparison.
Okay, so the main problem here is that they were comparing these Asian populations to like American populations, and that the reason for like the differences in health might not necessarily be associated with meats.
Yeah, there is 1.5 million confounders when you're looking at different populations. And when they did look at the Asian populations and looked at those who consume most meat versus those who do not consume, or those who consume least amount of meat, the difference was tiny. It's like you're comparing someone who consumes 20 grams of meat versus 15 grams of meat or something like that, something minuscule.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you'll never even see the it's like you're comparing a difference in what you're examining that's so little, it's almost guaranteed that some other confounder is going to be the deciding factor.
And is that in reference to the study that's up on the screen right now, that there was an inverse association?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, for fish and seafood, I don't have a disagreement with that. I mean, I'm sure fish and seafood do tend to, across populations and within populations, correlate with with improvement in lifespan. But in terms of red meat, no. Like, I don't agree with that at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That makes sense.
But you understand that point, right? Like, the point is that, like, if I like looked at people who consume the most amount of cigarettes versus the least amount of cigarettes, and the difference it turned out to be was like 1 molecule of smoke, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're never gonna. Do you think you're gonna see a difference because of that?
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly. You're not gonna see a difference between a molecule of cigarette smoke versus not. In fact, it's almost guaranteed that whatever difference you are seeing is not coming down to the molecule of smoke.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying, again, this would be in reference to the study that's up on the screen right now, that this,
Yes.
Okay, that where it says risk of mortality for total meat intake and provided evidence of an inverse association. So you're saying that, inverse association with red meat, poultry, and fish, seafood. So you're saying that this, I don't know how to word this. This is why I'm not a scientist.
So basically, this is when you look at the ecological data in Asian countries for red meat consumption, they compare the Asians who consume the highest amount of red meat to the Asians who consume the lowest amount of red meat.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually look at that difference, it turns out to be minuscule.
Yeah, is this study saying though that the Asians who consume the higher rates of meats had like lower risk of mortality?
Yes, it is saying that.
Mm-hmm.
But the key to understand here is that the difference in red meat intake was so little, it's almost guaranteed to be that the difference you're seeing in mortality is because of something other than that, some other confounder.
Mm-hmm. I guess it'd be...
For example, let's say...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I guess it'd be interesting to see exactly, like, what that difference was, like, how small it was, you know, because they could be saying that there's an inverse association, but then you actually look at, like, the numeric value.
I have looked at it.
Oh, you have?
That's why I'm saying it. I have looked at the meta-analysis of Asian countries, and that's why I'm telling you it's a few grams.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, I figured that the difference in the amount of meat was different, but I was wondering, like, how high the risk, or what the difference in risk of mortality was. Like, that difference in risk was probably pretty small, right?
Oh, it wouldn't matter what the difference in risk is.
Oh, okay.
The key is that if you're trying to isolate look, here's the thing. Like, let's say you looked at cigarettes, right? And the same thing happened. Like, let's say I say, hey, look, in Asian countries, when you look at the ecological data, for Asians, those who smoke more live longer. And when you look at Western countries, those who smoke more don't live longer. They live shorter. And then when you look at the data for smoking, it's like, well, in Western countries, those who smoke more were smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those who were smoking less were smoking nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you look at Asian countries, it turns out those who were smoking smoked 1 molecule of cigarette smoke. And those who were not smoking consumed 0 molecules of cigarette smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's true that it's a true statement to say that those in Asian countries, those who smoked more, had a longer lifespan, but it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't even matter if they had a much longer lifespan. It's almost certainly not due to the smoking. In fact, it has nothing to do with the smoking. In fact, you would bet that if the Asians smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day, they would still have a shorter lifespan. You're just tracking some confounder that goes with that. You're just tracking some other variable.
Okay, yeah, that made a lot more sense to me when you put it in the context of cigarettes. Yeah, because there could be a multitude of different reasons for that. Like, what if the people who eat more meats, they're eating more meat because they're wealthier and they can afford, better access to healthcare or whatever.
Or any other confounder that goes with it. In fact, even the confounder that goes with it probably would be like, I don't even know what's being measured. It's like, it's so dishonest to not mention this. It's so slimy to not mention that difference. It's well known that in the ecological data of Asian countries, the difference in red meat is minuscule. Compared to Western countries.
Okay, I'm I'm glad you're watching the stream actually, because I appreciate you being able to come on and like talk about this sort of stuff. Because like I was kind of saying before, it's not necessarily like the most important thing, because I feel like the most important thing is just simply whether or not you can be healthy as a vegan. But it is nice to debunk these things as they come up, because the dishonesty is pretty infuriating.
Share your stream with me on Discord so I can go through it with you.
Okay, this just became a collab. It's so funny. We'd like talk all this time about let me share. Talk all this time about what we can collab on, and I guess it just kind of happened naturally. All right, do you see it?
I see it.
Okay, cool. We can just keep going through this.
This is another great example of why we can't use these correlational studies to try to say that meat.
You can't hear it?
Can I play it?
It's bad. So
no, I can't hear it.
Okay, don't know why it's doing that. I don't know what to do if you can't hear it. Is there like
just if you ever get stuck on a claim, just like I guess repeat the claim to me and.
Okay. I would say you can watch the stream on my channel, but there's a latency. Just kind of annoying, but whatever. Okay, we can just keep going through.
So this is another great example of why we can't use these correlational studies to try to say that meat is bad.
Wait, he just said that these studies he provided are a great example of why we can't use correlative studies to say meat is bad. But aren't these studies that he's citing correlative?
You'll find that they have often various inconsistencies. They'll cite epidemiology when it fits their purposes, but then the epidemiology that doesn't, they'll just talk about how epidemiology is unreliable.
Oh, okay. And also, someone in my chat said the reason you can't hear is because OBS is capturing the audio, so Discord's not getting it, which is annoying. I don't know if there's a way to fix that, but that would be nice if we could fix it. Or maybe we could just put this into.
We have to use a watch together, basically.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we could do that. I don't know. It's just kind of like stressful because this is all live, So maybe we could.
It's fine. Go ahead. Whatever you want.
Okay, we can just keep trying to go through the YouTube video, and then maybe if we decide the watch together would be the better option, we can do that later. I don't know. I actually think the watch together would be the better option. So
alright, fine. Do you know how to do it?
Yeah. I'll just do that. Alright. We can do this. This is going to be so much easier. Create your room. Okay. And why isn't it? That's not what I want. Okay. And why is it not working? Oh, here we go.
It just plays an advertisement. That's all. But I think it is the video.
Okay. I'm gonna.
Oh, low carb Denver. Of course, it comes from low carb Denver.
There you go. Oh wait, I can stop sharing my screen now. Wait, okay, there you are. You can just skip. What was the timestamp? 2:29, 2.5 minutes.
That cows can save human health. Red relation between people who eat. This is another great example of why we can't use these correlational studies to try to say that meat is bad. So here's the graph of all the modern hunter-gatherers that we study. 73% of these societies got over 50% of their diet from animal.
So Wait, so? Why does it matter? Okay, I'm sorry. I like do this. I keep pausing it every 5 seconds, but it's just so.
No, you're gonna when it comes to videos like this, you're probably gonna have to pause every 5 seconds because they're just so jam packed full of content.
I'm like, okay, so modern hunter-gatherers get 70%, or wait, get 50% of their diet from animal foods. So, okay, whatever, let's just keep going.
Foods. And of course, none of them were vegan. 0.
Oh my god. Okay.
By the way, those figures also are contestable.
Wait,
But
sorry,
anyway,
what?
the figures on the hunter-gatherer populations are contestable, but regardless, it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
In my journeys, talking to a ton of people, over 150 people, I talked to Dr. David Klorfeld, who's a member of the working group that decided meat was a carcinogen. And I did a long podcast with him. I had to get special clearance to do this with him. And he told me there was a ton of vegans and vegetarians on the panel. They were ignoring evidence, that they did not have the interest of science in mind. They purposely did not look at studies. So
Wait. So what is he saying? Basically, the World Health Organization what? Basically lied in their.
The vegan conspiracy.
The vegan conspiracy. Yeah, I mean, these are some pretty bold claims, but if you're gonna basically.
This also isn't any attack on the methodology of any of the data or any of the claims and what they're using to substantiate it. It's literally just a hive mind conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this is just like QAnon, but like anti-vegan version.
here we have a visualization of what happened. There was actually only 15 studies that showed that red meat were good and 14 that showed red meat were bad.
Wait, he's not just appealing to like the quantity of studies, is he? I don't know. Maybe he'll explain it later. Let's just keep going.
I mean, it's basically a toss-up. So
wait, is that what he's doing? Is he just appealing to the quantity of studies that exist for either side?
His argument's like, okay, well, 744 of the studies were excluded. Well, yeah, I mean, there could be a very reasonable exclusion criteria that excluded them. You'd have to elaborate on why they were excluded from any meta-analysis if he's talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
The quantity of the studies doesn't really tell you much.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like people who will just find a random study and then they'll cite it to support their position. They don't read it. They just assume it's a study, so I'll cite it. All right, let's keep going.
There's also the difference between the relative risk and the absolute risk. And so just an example, after all these studies they looked at, they only found that the meat and cancer had a 0.18% risk factor. But then when we looked at cigarettes and cancer, when we looked at the epidemiology, it was 10 to 30% risk factor. So this is something that we should look more into. So
wait, is he saying? Was he citing relative risk?
Low. Yeah, this is the meme. The relative risk too low though. Yeah, I mean, you can take a look at my channel. I did a whole video on this.
Yeah.
Again, like the whether something can be like something can be associated in a truly causal, and it can have a low relative risk. Like I don't know why this is still being used. You can have whether something is causal or not doesn't tell you the magnitude of the relative risk. There are examples of demanding relative risks that are just mathematically impossible. It's just a fundamental misunderstanding of the very terms he mentions, relative risk and absolute risk, if he's trying to use it to determine causality. So you can take a look at my channel. I did a whole video on it. The guy's very inept so far. Well, I'm sure I'll continue to be doing so. So let's go.
All right.
What the real problem is, and I think everyone here kind of knows this, it's the processed foods, right? We look at the foods we've been eating for all of history.
Oh my god, there he goes with the history thing again. It's like now he's like, well, we've been eating animal products all throughout history. And like before...
Well, there's so much here. There's so much in here. So first of all, processed though. Again, processed versus whole foods are a heuristic. They're not a law. There are examples of processed foods that are many times better than whole foods. An example would be protein powder. In many cases, to get adequate protein intake for your goals, protein powder is probably better than a lot of whole foods. Just is. There are a lot of people that could benefit from protein powder over whole foods. There are other examples of processed foods that are associated with a decreased risk of cardiovascular disease. extra virgin olive oil being one of them. The next ridiculous thing is what you see on the screen.
I was just going to
We've been
mention
eating for all of
that.
human history.
His like little infographic. Imagine this with like houses, right? Like houses we've been
Does
living
he
in
have
for all
any
of human
idea when
history.
these animals- Does he have any idea when these animals were domesticated in human history? In fact, it's not
That's
all of human
true,
history.
yeah.
It's a tiny fraction of human history.
That's true, especially in like the bodies, right? The bodies that we bred them into. Like it's not like cows have always grown to be that big, beef cattle. It's not like dairy cows have always produced that much milk. Like, and it's like the implication that if we've been doing something for like this latter half of human history that it's like therefore bad. I mean, at that point you just have to throw out modern medicine. You'd have to throw out pretty much everything, right? Clothes, like the houses we live in, heating, cooling, everything.
The idea that so there's 2 points here. So the first point is it's just not true that we've been eating these animals for all of human history. The second thing is the degree of length of time that we've been eating a given food over human history doesn't give us a reason to believe that it's a good thing versus a bad thing.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that it's healthy or unhealthy. Just the span of duration that we've been eating, the percentage of human history that we've been eating the food over. So what?
Yeah, this was actually talked about in that book I was talking to you about that one time, Against the Grain. If anyone wants to read that, I had to read it for a class. Oh God, my voice. I had to read it for a class, and it talks about, human history and the misconceptions we have about it. So, super cool book if you guys want to check it out. Anyway, we can keep going.
And we're trying to blame them now for some reason when look at the foods that just came into existence. Maybe that's the problem. So what is regenerative agriculture? What does that mean? How does it work? Well, when grass grows, there's a life cycle, and there's
Oh yeah, I guess he's talking about environment now. There was no.
No, I think we jumped in the video.
I don't think so. No.
Oh, did it just cut? Oh, it just.
Yeah, it did. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So what is regenerative agriculture? What does that mean? How does it work? Well, when grass grows, there's a life cycle, and there's an optimum grazing point where we want the cows to be eating the grass right at that cross section. So it doesn't want to be too old, but it wants to be just right in the age when it's the most nutritious, but also it's going to be stimulated by those cows eating it, and it will grow again.
I don't know much.
Notice how we didn't define what regenerative agriculture is, by the way.
Yeah, I know this is a topic that's brought up a lot, and it's actually something I've neglected to educate myself on. So, I was hoping a little bit he would explain what it is, but he didn't. But
I noticed that he didn't. What is the regenerative agriculture? He proceeds to say you want the cows to graze at a certain point. Did not define what regenerative agriculture was. Gave no reason for why you would want them to graze at that point, or why it would be better for them to graze at that point as opposed to not grazing at all.
All right. Maybe he'll tell us now. Maybe, or actually, it looks like he moved on to a different topic.
I don't think he will. Well, we can go.
Okay.
So this is called rotational grazing, right? When we're going to eat the grass, and the timing of it is very important. So this mimics nature, right? So this looks kind of like what the ancient bison might have looked.
Imagine looking at that and thinking that mimics nature.
That's why I was laughing. It's like the idea that any form of agriculture, like animal agriculture that we partake in today is mimicking nature is pretty hilarious.
In nature, first of all, these individuals wouldn't exist. But more importantly, they would migrate. You'd have grazing that would be much more spread out. They wouldn't be blocked into a rectangle to graze the land and then move to another rectangular block to graze the land. They would be dispersed much more widely, and they would be migrating across large distances. That's one of the things that prevents overgrazing, prevents over-trampling of the forage. All of the things that you're going to see happening here, trampling of the forage, overgrazing, all those things are prevented by wide dispersion and migration. Long-scale migration. None of this happens in these mimicking nature systems.
Well, they're outside, so it's nature.
Aren't even in nature anyway. But anyway.
They're outside and eating grass, so that means it's mimicking nature.
Oh, that's a shared trait. I agree. They're both eating grass.
So basically, if I
we're
go
mimicking
outside,
nature.
if I go outside and I like start eating the grass on my lawn, I guess I'm mimicking nature as well. I guess that's a good thing. Maybe I should start doing that. Anyway.
Basin might have looked like years ago, and they're in packs and they move on the land and they eat the grass and then they move, right? And they move on and it lets it rest and grow back. So now we can do that with simple things like this electric fence that's solar powered and you can manage.
Oh my
The
god!
natural mimicking nature electric fence, though.
It's so funny to listen to him appeal to nature throughout this entire thing. This is almost 20 minutes long, and we're only like 5 minutes in, right? But it's so funny to listen to him appeal to nature throughout the entirety of like this 5 minutes, and presumably for the rest of the 12 minutes. And then he's like, and electric fences are a good thing because it mimics nature. Okay. Anyway.
And the point is not just that, like, the way you're dispersing the cattle and the time frame that you're doing it does not mimic nature. That's the key. If you were to mimic nature, they would be much more widely dispersed so that they couldn't trample the forage. They wouldn't overgraze the forage, and they would migrate. They would be migrating long distances from grazing patch to grazing patch. That would prevent them from overtrampling and overgrazing the forage.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like mimicking this not to say this would even be a good thing, by the way.
Oh yeah.
It's just, I don't even think that would be a good thing. But if you did that I agree, that would be like more this idea of mimicking whatever these species that, if they were a different species, would exist as.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how closely the process of taking these animals to slaughter and using a bolt gun to kill them mimics nature. I'd be interested in hearing him argue that, but I guess we can just continue.
A lot of livestock with a simple little wire. So this is what it would look like. You could start the cows in the top right, and you move them each day. By the time you get them back around, the grass is ready to go again.
Wow.
And this does amazing. This is like the
like
basics
magic.
of why rotational grazing works.
Okay,
So there's a guy named Alan Savory that I actually just interviewed.
We're going to
and Mike-
Alan Savory, of course.
Oh, you know who
We
Alan
have all
Savory
the
is?
memes. We have all the memes in this one.
I don't even know who this dude is. I've never heard of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the regenerative agriculture, holistic management, pseudoscience.
Okay.
Yeah, we can go through it.
All right, let's go. Let's see what Mr. Alan Savory has to say.
Also,
Visit
you'll notice how there's no
Zimbabwe.
data on any, like, you notice how there's no data that he's providing. Like, everything he's giving is just conceptual. He's not giving any data on erosion comparing to no grazing. He's not giving any data on any metrics of soil quality compared to no grazing. He's not giving he's not giving any of this.
Mm-hmm.
He's just giving this conceptual, loose framework that, with no justification, no substantiation.
Yeah, I noticed that too, because you mentioned that earlier. Like, he just kind of, I guess, described the process of regenerative agriculture, and he didn't actually say anything about that. He didn't provide any sort of analysis as to why it's good, any sort of analysis as to why we should advocate this over, like, global veganism. And that's kind of this recurring pattern that I'm seeing in every form of animal agriculture that he's presenting as, like, you know, a viable option or a viable alternative to veganism. Like, he's not giving us any reason to say, oh yeah, that's actually a good way that we should go about, you know, the production of food. He's just sort of introducing the idea of it, and then moving on to the next one without explaining to us why we should care about it.
Without providing any empirical substantiation.
Mm-hmm.
The reasons why. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay, let's go.
Who's doing this on a global scale. And he's been doing this since the 1960s, really. He's talking about holistic management. And this is the stuff that happens when you correctly put cows on grass. Desertification happens when cows are not on land. So this is an example of them, just using...
Imagine in any other context where someone shows you a picture and then another picture and says, aha, see? Here's one of the things that are different. That's the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, AKA, imagine someone shows you an angiogram of a closed artery and then an angiogram of an opened up artery and says, aha, it was the plant-based diet that did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually didn't even
there
think
are
about
some
that.
persons that say, like, this is that level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, we don't determine causality based on cherry-picked photographs. like do a robust analysis. Show us the data, show us apt comparisons, make some attempt to control for the thing you're introducing versus if you had not introduced it, versus if you had used other methods. I mean, like, put some effort. Don't just take a picture and then another picture and say, aha, this difference was what did it. We would never accept this in any other context.
Yeah, Kuweta in the chat said the tree did it. Which, seems about as much of a viable explanation as what he's offering. But, I mean, maybe we could even steelman him and say, it was whatever process he's using to raise the cattle that made that change, that growth of nature that we see. When we consider the fact that this video is supposedly debunking veganism, it's like, okay, maybe we could grant the fact for the sake of argument that this worked in like this one specific area. How does that get you to the conclusion that like you're debunking veganism more generally? How would we know that that's like a viable option or a viable alternative to like global veganism? How do we know that this could even be scaled up to like the extent to which would be required to meet the world's demand of animal products?
Can you imagine anyone making this argument in the human context? Like,
that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, like here's some land, and then we took a bunch of humans, and then we rotationally grazed them with the nature mimicking electric fence, and we rotated them, and then the grass grew back in time,
and then we slaughtered them.
And then we slaughtered them, and then you see, here's a picture. This is what happens when you humans are not being grazed on, are not being farmed on land. And this is what happens when we did it. Look, the trees have more green on them. Wow. Like, no one would accept this in any other context. This is just ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. Okay, so it's ridiculous on two levels. We would never accept the empirical claim based on an argument like this in any context. We would also never accept the conclusion, the prescriptive claim in any other context. And then with the prescriptive claims, it's just insanity.
Mm-hmm. He'll probably tell us later on in the video why it would be okay for the cows and not the humans, because he goes through ethical arguments too, so he's going to put us in our place with that as well. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what his what his reasons are going to be. I don't think he's given us any reason to have high expectations though, so I guess we could just keep going.
More cattle on the same area. I don't know exactly how many years this was, but they actually do the opposite of what vegans will have you think, that they actually improve the soil, and they...
The degree to which this guy has no clue about any of the metrics of what went on here is just so astounding and obvious.
Help grow grass back. So we have a huge amount of cropland in the world. People say, oh, well, there's not enough land to do this. This is great. Regenerative farming is great. But we don't have enough land to do this. Well, we actually do. For one, if we don't use all this cropland for corn, wheat, and soy, which we...
Wait, you mean the corn, wheat, and soy that we feed to animals?
Okay, wait, let him finish his argument.
Sorry.
I have a whole debunk on this.
Sorry.
know is not healthy for us. We could use some of this land for cows. And then also here is some of this rangeland. So vegans will also like to say, oh, there's so much land used for animal agriculture, it's terrible. It's like, no, it's actually good. Like we said, if like Alan Savory has shown, he did an amazing TED Talk, by the way, that you can check out, that animals, ruminants on grass help the soil, and this land cannot be used otherwise.
Okay, yeah, let's go through the debunk. So I actually have, it's funny, because I actually have a specific debunk to that. So go to, in my Discord, study archives, go to We Graze Them. We graze them anyway, though.
Oh god, you have like 100 channels. What's or categories? What's the category
Carnivore
called?
MD is the category.
Oh, it's in your Paul Saladino thing. Okay.
Yep.
You need to like alphabetize these. Okay.
What's in the order of the video?
We graze them though.
graze them anyway, though?
Oh,
Under grass-fed, blah, blah, grass-fed.
I don't see it. Are you sure it's under the right category?
Carnivore MD.
Yep.
Okay, you see introduction, not edible, setting from P450.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at clownivore lipids. Okay, my bad. Can you just tag me in it? Like, just... Yeah, let me see.
Alright, you're tagged in it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Alright, okay. Hold on. Maybe I should switch the OBS thing to,
yeah.
Discord. Okay, should be good now.
Alright, cool. So, let's focus on what that claim is. So the claim is that, well, the reason we're taking up so much land, it's really not that we're taking up so much land, but if it's because we're using a whole bunch of land to grow the crops to feed and grain finish these cattle. But instead of growing the soy and the corn and whatever that we're using to feed the cattle, what if instead of growing it, we can just graze the cattle there? Right? So you're appreciating what he's saying? Like, well, we would have enough land to do this if we were to not farm grains, soy, things like corn that we're using to feed the animals.
Wouldn't
that takes up a bunch of land? Wouldn't
that severely decrease the quantity of, or the, what am I trying to say? The amount of animal products available, though? Like, would it even be enough to meet global? Okay, anyway, that's probably.
I agree that it would, but you have to be able to show that.
Okay.
So he's gonna say, well, why can't you show that? Why would that happen? Because look, hey, here's more land, right? We can use more land to graze them. If we just didn't grow the food for them on that land, we could just graze them on land instead. Okay, so we can go through. So right now we have 654 million acres, or 41% of our land is for grazing cattle. It's broken down as follows. If we look at our crop production, so do you see where it's crop production allocation?
Crop production allocation? That's in the We Graze Them channel?
Yeah.
Okay, there's so much in here, Avi. Oh, who reacted? Hold on, sorry.
So we see report generated from USDA by Bloomberg.
Okay, no. Is it at the top?
No, it's not at the top. It's like, do you see after the smiley face emoji and the Avi OMGY emoji?
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, I see it now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I knew the emojis would get it. Okay. So currently we have 41% of our land is used for grazing cattle. Now let's examine the claim that if we were to, instead of grain finish them, if we grass finish them, we would have enough land to do so, to actually just do all this regenerative agriculture. If we just, instead of using the corn and the soy to feed to these cattle, we just took the land and used it for more grazing land. Well, how much land are we actually using for grain and soy? We're using about, for the livestock feed, we use 127.4 million acres for livestock feed. So 32.5% of the crop production land is for livestock feed.
Mm-hmm.
The other 77.3 million acres is for the food that we eat. About almost 20% of our crop production allocation.
Do you mean plant foods?
Yes.
Okay.
So we would actually need, there is going to be a study uploaded for this, but I did a manual calculation. Long story short, we need about 30% more land. It's about 200 million additional acres. Even if we eliminated all the land used for livestock feed, we would still need about 70 million additional acres to maintain all of that, and that's all the livestock feed. Keep in mind that a lot of that food is not even used to feed cows anyway. It's used to feed chickens and pigs and turkeys, broiler chickens, layers, horses even, sheep. Well, sheep we can consider cattle, that's fine.
Oh.
But the point is that you're not talking about eliminating, if you're talking about getting rid of this 127 million acres that we use to feed livestock, you're not just talking about cattle feed. First of all, it wouldn't be enough. You'd still need more land. But more to the point, you wouldn't even get that much. Because if you scroll down, you see this like circle
Mm-hmm.
that shows the U.S. feed consumption per group in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a graphic representing the percentage of food we use, the percentage of kilograms of food given to different animals that we farm for, that we grow. So most of it is beef cattle, but it's only 31.6% of the food we grow is for beef cattle.
Mm-hmm.
Dairy cattle is about 10.1%, but 23.8% is for broiler chickens. 19.6% of the food we grow goes to pigs. 6.92 to layers. 4.18 for turkeys. 3.39% for horses. The point is that if we actually look at how much are going to go to cattle, it's much less. Assuming the uniform land requirements for feed produced, it comes out to about 53.1 million acres for livestock feed to cows. This means that using the middle estimate of 250.5, we can go into that, but even if we use 200 million acres, even if we free up 53.1 million, we'll end up with, even if we go with the 30%, we'll need 150 million acres more to support that much cattle. It's a hilariously inefficient trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
So no, this idea that we will be able to free up enough land if we just stop growing the corn and the soy, that's not true at all. Like, if we just stop growing the corn and the soy that we're feeding the cattle, we could graze the cattle there instead. No, you're not going to have enough land. That's not true.
Yeah, I feel like conceptually,
it up on that.
Yeah, conceptually it makes sense. But I think, of course, if you're going to present the argument, you should always have the numbers. So it's nice to have the actual statistics to back it up too. Okay.
And you can bet that he will not present any of the numbers.
I mean, he hasn't so far, so I don't know why I would expect him to do it going forward. And you're gonna go over all of this in your debunk Paul Saladino and his Joe Rogan claims. Yeah, okay. So everyone watching, I mean, if you know who I am, you know who Avi is. Well, obviously, check out that when it comes out. All right, let's go back to the video. Let me switch the OBS thing, Google Chrome. Okay. All right, there we go. Let's continue.
Here's another topic that's really hard to get into because it's personal, right? It's ethics. It's I don't want to eat.
Yes, I'm so excited for the ethics. I thought since we weren't even halfway through the video, it wouldn't have come up yet, but here we are. I'm excited.
Eat meat because I believe it's bad. So
more than
I'm
bad.
going to have Terica tour an amazing farmstead up. She has her own farm. She raises all her own animals by hand from scratch. She loves them.
But she slaughters them, right? She loves them, but she slaughters them. Is that what he's gonna say?
Raise them with her own hands from scratch, and then she puts them off to a slaughter line.
Then she, or what if I've gotten into arguments with like dairy farmers and like cattle farmers and stuff, and they usually call it like harvesting. So she harvests them, right? And then you're like, by harvest you mean like shoot them in the head with a bolt gun, right? They're like, oh, that's just appealing to emotion. But anyway,
you're just like describing what you're doing.
I know that's like the thing too. When people start talking about like Dominion's just appealing to emotion. What?
Like again, just consistency check. Like imagine in the human context, someone said, listen, when what I'm doing is I'm harvesting the humans. And then they said, oh, by harvesting the humans, do you mean slaughtering them? And then it's like, okay, listen, when you use the word slaughtering the humans, you're just appealing to emotion, okay? Like again, you would describe it as you would not describe it as harvesting the humans. You would describe it as slaughtering them. I mean. So again, just consistency check here.
Yeah, and something
Even
related. Oh, sorry.
Consistency check your semantics.
Yes, name the trait, Mister. I don't know what your name is. But something related that this reminded me of is when I was arguing with the dairy farmer, and this was on TikTok, because of course it was, I'm me. But anyway, I was arguing with a dairy farmer on TikTok, and I brought up the fact that typically these cows are sent to slaughter. And I asked them, I was like, do you send your cows to slaughter? Or actually, I think my specific phrasing was, do you slaughter your cows? And they were like, no, I sell them to someone else to slaughter. Like, okay, you know what? Yeah, that's better. But anyway, I guess I can continue.
Let's play this video real quick. This is not exactly from Food Lies, but
on our farm we have some pigs that do their piggy thing in the forest. We have ducks that live on a pond, and we have meat rabbits and turkeys and chickens, and we have both meat and dairy cattle that are all just solely grass-fed, including the dairy cattle. And we raise our animals from when they're born until when they die.
When they die. We raise our animals from when they're born until when they die.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, if by die, just like now. In any other context, someone would say that, like, if you were, like, raising a pet dog, for example. If you say, I raised my pet dog from when it was born until it died. Everyone gets the idea that, oh, well, again, your semantics, everyone gets the idea that, oh, you've raised it when it born until it naturally died, or it was suffering so much that you had to put it down, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
To describe what you're doing to the cows like that is not apt.
Yeah.
You didn't raise it from when it was born until it died. You raised it up until what happened is you raised it not until its natural death, not until its natural age even. What you did is you raised it up until approximately 4 to 6 months, maybe a little bit longer than 6 months, which is a fraction of its normal lifespan, and then you sent it to a slaughterhouse. That's what you did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You didn't raise it until it died.
And something else that kind of sticks out to me about this wording is I feel like if they truly believe that what they're doing is okay, why then are they, framing it like this, framing it so dishonestly? Because I feel like if you're kind of priding yourself on raising these animals quote unquote humanely, then killing them quote unquote humanely, why would you not be proud of that? Why would you not embrace it? If this is the entire point of this video, right? To glamorize that. So then why would you conceal that with such what am I trying to say? Such dishonest wording. Oh yeah, Coetta in the chat says, this totally isn't propaganda, BTW, not like that vegan propaganda. That's true. It's so funny how he'll refer to the veganism kind of generally as vegan propaganda, and then he shows this video where someone is describing the process of slaughtering someone, of murdering them as them dying. But anyway, you can continue.
Unplug that we can not be a part of this horrible machine of death by
What? You mean the machine of death that you literally are a part of and are contributing toward?
Okay, let's just...
Opting out by not eating animals. To me, I believe that's a stunted thought.
What? A what?
A stunted thought.
Oh, stunted thought. Okay.
Stunted thought.
Alright, maybe she'll explain why it's a stunted thought. I'd like to know why I'm so triggered right now. Ellie, I feel like I would be triggered if this wasn't so pathetic. But anyway.
Get to the point of discomfort because something had to die for us to live. And so we stop there and decide, well, therefore, I'm going to back up and not...
Wait, she just said something had to die for us to live. No. That's not true at all.
Something had to die for the pleasure of your taste buds.
Yeah. The same dude who's showing us this video said previously that there's a correlation between or a correlative relationship between, you know, people who eat like plant-based and like people who are healthy or whatever. And he said this when he was like trying to prove the fact that eating meat is like healthy, whatever. But I mean, it just whatever.
Whatever had to die for me to get there. Well, everything has.
Okay, no, I'm gonna stop.
Around it. Anything that's alive had to die for you to eat.
Oh, what? Anything?
If by live that includes plants, I guess, but like not every sentient being needs to die for you to eat.
Yeah, that's really weird to just kind of lump all death into the same category, because I doubt that like killing a tomato plant would be the same as like stabbing a dog, you know. Whatever.
We can say that the natural world has always had it figured out, and that we can.
Well, first of all, I feel like you and I both agree nature's a pretty horrific place. But second of all,
one of the worst places you could be. It's disgusting.
But
I don't think they figured a whole lot. The thing that nature has figured out is the genes have figured out a very good strategy to replicate. Not much. Nature hasn't figured out a whole lot of other things.
But
not in terms of reducing suffering, not in terms of maximizing well-being, not in terms of modern medicine or any of these things. Just it's a world of animals eating other animals alive and torturing them, or succumbing to the elements and whatnot. It's a horrific place, and to model yourself after that is.
But the point that I was getting at is that she's not even modeling herself after that. Like, this isn't natural.
That's
like this,
true.
like even if nature had it figured out, this isn't nature. So why is she appealing to that to somehow justify what she's doing? It's this is just like wrong on multiple fronts. But whatever.
Imagine taking a some artificially bred species, slaughtering it, taking its meat, and then pouring some oil. I don't know what kind of oil that was, and pouring some like processed oil all over it, and saying like nature figured it out.
It's natural, just like the electric fences were.
Bad or anything, but like holy,
no, it's not.
Geez, don't try to pretend that's natural.
No. I mean, it's about as natural as the electric fences were. But we can continue.
Be in that system, and we can mimic systems so that we can have.
Oh my God! Be in that. Okay, no. Okay, let's just...
like with ruminants moving through and stuff like that. Or we can say, I don't like death, so I'm not going to eat things that had to die, and so I'm just going to eat.
It's not about not liking death. It is about, well, you know, I could explain it in terms of like deontic rights, but to put it a little bit more casually, I guess, it's about, you know, kind of looking at someone who doesn't have to die, and you kind of go, you know, I could stab you, or I could not stab you, and then deciding which one you're going to choose.
Like imagine again, just imagine her making this argument in the human context. Mm-hmm. Like everyone would laugh at her.
It's like, I choose not to eat humans, and then she responds to you and goes, oh, what, so you don't like death, so you're just not going to eat humans? Is that it?
You have a stunted thought.
Have you considered hurting them using electric fences? Anyway.
Eat foods that are not from an animal. Unfortunately, to do that, you have to destroy entire ecosystems to...
Oh, man. As opposed to occupying 41% of our land and tramping on them and grazing them. And that's not, that doesn't constitute a destruction of ecosystems, but growing fruit trees or growing vegetables does.
Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so you march into indigenous lands in South America, you murder the people there, you push them off of their lands, and you clear forests to make room for animal agriculture, right? That's not disrupting ecosystems. Spraying animal waste into poor and ethnic communities and, you know, poisoning them, saturating the air and water with, you know, animal manure, that's not disrupting ecosystems. But crops for human consumption, that's where I draw the line. Okay.
Grow your food. And I cannot tell you about the amount of life that's around us right now. There's all sorts of birds, there's toads, there's snakes, there's bears back there, there's coyotes back there, and that's just the stuff on the surface. Like, we're not even talking about what...
But okay,
there's so many things wrong. Like
there is.
I don't even know where to begin.
I think the main thing that she's getting at here is this idea that what she's doing is preserving the ecosystem and, like, the big scary vegans aren't. But, okay, again, let's just steelman her argument. Let's just grant that, right? Okay, you and your tiny little farm are preserving the ecosystem. That doesn't mean what you're doing is a scalable option. That doesn't mean that if we were to do what you are doing and scale that up to, to account for the whole global production of food, that wouldn't, like, destroy the environment, that wouldn't, devastate, like, everything around it. Because the thing about this, right, and this is something that I've talked about before on my channel, is that veganism is a scalable solution. These types of things are not. Like, we're already occupying vast amounts of land, right? And through occupying that vast amount of land, we're producing a lot of animal products. So can you imagine if we were to suddenly try to meet that demand whilst also, like, wanting to give these animals, like, 100 times the amount of land that they currently have? We just can't. It's just, okay, whatever.
How are you going to how much, this is just the land, that increase in land was just for cattle. Like, imagine if instead of cramping the pigs in factory farms or cramping the chickens factory farms, you decided to, like, open graze them or whatever, like, have them roam. Like, you would need astronomical amounts of land to do it if you expanded it beyond cattle.
Yeah, I would intuit that we don't even have that land available on Earth. But I'm not going to make that definitive claim because I don't have the data, but that's...
I haven't tried to calculate that.
Yeah, that would be what my intuition is, though. But, the obligatory, I could be wrong.
Right, so just to recap, the two things she's wrong are, like, there's no evidence that what she's doing is doing any of the effects that she says. Like, we have all these things here. Look at this. Like, the second thing is, even if it was, imagine making this argument in the human context. Like, no one would accept it.
Yep. All right, let's keep going. Well, maybe they'll tell us why humans are so much better than cows, where we can, slaughter cows and not humans. So
what's going on in the soil and everything else that's around us. So, in order for me to grow the food,
it kind of sits badly with me how we're looking at these adorable videos of, like, turkeys and chickens and pigs, and you just know that by now they've probably all been slaughtered. Like, that is, like, so morbid.
All of those cute beings, they've all gone to a slaughterhouse. And they've been hung upside down and slaughtered, or slaughtered in some other way, and they've been flayed, and they were consumed by some individual for their taste buds.
And this is something that I've argued with farmers about on Twitter before, is, they'll post these pictures of them smiling next to these cute pigs, and they'll be like, I can't believe vegans would think this is bad. And it's like, okay, we don't think it's bad that you're sitting there smiling with a pig. We don't think it's bad that you're giving them this luxurious lifestyle. What we think is bad is you sending them to a slaughterhouse and cutting their throats open. That is what we take issue with. Or, bull gunning them in the head, whatever. Like, it's so dishonest. It's just... Okay, anyway, keep going.
Food that will not kill anything. I'll have to kill all this. I'm going to have to strip the soil. I'm going to have to level everything out. I'm going to have to steal water out of vast aquifers so that we can irrigate the shit out of this place, because it's not going to have any water retention possibility anymore. I am going to...
Okay, again, I would just defer back to this, the whole scalable thing, and then also, human context thing. Anyway.
I take all the fertility out of the soil, because to level this, I've got to do that. I will end up with a moonscape. It's death in a plate. There's just no blood.
She should talk to that one farmer from the 73 Cows short film who was a cattle rancher, and then he was like, actually, this is, like, super messed up. I don't like sending these, innocent, thinking, intelligent beings off to their deaths. So he gave all his cows to a sanctuary and started growing his own, vegan food. I think she should talk with him. I think that would be an interesting conversation.
Imagine, even if this were true. I mean, by the way, these claims are contested, like, in terms of the amount of water required. I have a channel on that as well. It's called Rainfall, though. But even, like, again, like, no one would accept this in any other context. For humans, they would, hey, like, instead of irrigating your crops, you can take humans and slaughter them.
Wow, actually, you know what? That's a really great option. Then I won't have to level the land. Anyway,
It's like, yeah. And not to mention that those empirical claims are not true. Like, if there's would be far less land leveling if you did consume plants instead. It's like none of these empirical claims are completely just, they're assertions. It's just one assertion after another.
All right, let's see what else they have in store for us.
Thing times a million. It's much worse. It's not one animal who lives a good life, who moves through within a biodiverse system, who contributes to that system the way that whoever created all this figured out long before us, much smarter than us, and that is contributing and is part of it, just like we should be part of it.
All right, so this is basically the cave paintings, though, argument from earlier on in the video, where he's like, there's cave paintings of them eating meat. How could it possibly be wrong? Okay, anyway.
Nature figured it out, though.
Nature sure did.
And notice how the prescriptive claim just slid in there right at the end of all that. Like, a whole bunch of descriptive claims, completely unsubstantiated, and therefore we should do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's been done, so we should do it.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's just like appealing to what we did in the past as a justification for continuing to do it in the future. And once you identify that as a sufficient justification for something, as like, as saying like, something is morally okay as long as we've done it in the past. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but suddenly you're falling down a rabbit hole of as long as we did it in the past, it's okay, and that has some pretty obvious, horrific conclusions. But we can continue anyway.
We should be part of this too. We're here, we're gone, and while we're here, we need to be living as close as we possibly can to how we're supposed to be living, and that includes our diets.
With the electric fences, of course.
So, like, why would anyone think that we're supposed to be living as close as to how we're living in nature?
Because it's a way to justify what they want to justify. That's it.
Look at this ending scene. Like, she's walking out with presumably her husband and her dog in the wilderness. Like, wow.
Do you think she slaughtered the dog?
All of this was because she took the electric fences and rotated the cattle grazing. Like, that's what genuine is.
And then sent them off somewhere to be slaughtered.
Then killed them all.
Yep.
Every time she says that line,
she's heart is touched. Every time she says it, oh bless her heart. Every time she goes through the story, I just tear up a little bit.
The chills, and it really.
Get the chills.
Oh my god. Oh my. Again, it's like, what you've been saying all this time. Imagine this in the human context. Imagine listening to some lady talk about this, except it's humans instead of cows. And then he's like, I just get chills every time I hear it. Like, oh my god.
It's really emotional for me. It's death on a plate. There's just no blood. This is one of the main things I wish the anti-meat activists would understand.
Okay, how about you explain it to us?
There is no life without death.
Okay. Just because life has death, or just because death is accompanied with life, whatever, does not suddenly mean you get to go out killing anyone you want, right? Like, I'm not gonna go out to the supermarket and start stabbing people and be like, well, there's just no life without death. What can I say? Like, there are other factors to consider here.
There's no life without death. Farm the humans and slaughter them. And if you eat plants instead, you have to understand, like, there's blood. There's death, but no blood. Oh, that's so profound of a quote.
It's so funny. It's like these people who are basically like pseudo-intellectuals, but oh god, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So just because, technically there's no life without death doesn't suddenly mean we get to maximize that amount of death, right? It doesn't suddenly mean that we get to start killing 70 billion land animals because we like cheese sticks? Because we like McDonald's burgers? Anyway, continue.
This is a harmonious cycle. This is how nature works. You can't get outside of it. You can stick your head in the sand and pretend you're not killing something, but that's not how nature works. 55 sentient animals' lives lost to produce 100 kilograms of usable plant protein. That's 25 times more killings than to produce the same amount of brain
That's from the Archer study. I have a section in my Discord for an in-depth debunk of the Archer study. Those numbers are not accurate at all, by the way.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. When does it account for the crops grown for animal feed?
No. I mean, it's it's worse than that. They just made some assumptions that were like 100 or like 10 times, probably even worse off.
What kind of assumptions?
Anyone who wants that can look at my. I have a Discord in my Discord channel. I have a whole debunk on that, and there is an in-depth refutation about all the assumptions that Archer made and why they turned out to not just be wrong, but off by a very large margin.
Do you mind just giving us like a very brief summary of like some of the assumptions that were made? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Sure, we can go. We can go into that. I'll have to find the channel. Let me see.
Let's post the link to your server.
Okay, here we go. So,
well, I'm gonna post the link to. Let me just do this so I don't get echoing. Okay. There we go. That's the link to Avi's server in case you guys want to stop by and look at all these channels.
So Davis misread the sugarcane study. So one of the studies that he cited, he actually misread it. He ignored the longer growing time. Sugarcane has a 2-year growing season, so the annual mortality rate is only 38.5%, not 77%. While Archer's analysis offers a similar example, it inadvertently exaggerates the scope of mouse plagues. Archer writes that each area of grain production in eastern Australia is subject to, on average, a mouse plague of every 4 years. The source Archer cites supports this statement insofar as each area is understood to refer as a large geographic region, such as states or parts of states, such as Victoria, southern Queensland, etc. But Archer's calculation take each area to refer to every hectare of grain cropland in Australia. The difference here is between the quadrennial mouse plague happening somewhere in all of Victoria and such a plague happening in every last Victorian farm. A more accurate picture is suggested by the Cooperative Research Center for Pest Animal Control, which notes that each year between 100,000 and 500,000 hectares of grain crops in Australia are subject to mouse plagues. Australia plants approximately 22 million hectares of grain crops annually. These figures suggest that an average of 2.3% of Australian grain croplands are hit with plague, while Archer's figure of 55 crop deaths per hectare of grain is recalculated to apply 2.3% of cropland. The mortality rate from grain becomes 1.27 animals per hectare, an error by a factor of 43. So what Archer basically did, what you see is being cited, one of the many problems was he took one area that had mouse plagues and he extrapolated that to the entirety of farming. Well, if there's a mouse plague, obviously more animals are going to be killed per the amount of food produced.
Mm-hmm.
That error alone bumped up the deaths by a factor of 43. So whatever number you're seeing on the screen, just divide that by 43. And that's just one of the problems.
Because, presumably this mouse plague thing is like not like a common occurrence, and you certainly can't assume that it's happening in every single place where we grow crops. Ellie's freaking out in the chat.
That comes out to be. Yeah.
So would this be kind of like then if you're maybe? I mean, okay. Maybe if you put this into the human context a little bit.
1.27, right? 1.27 is more. Yeah. So 1.2. That's actually the number in my Discord. So 55 divided by 43 is 1.2. Just that error alone gets you down to 1.27 animal deaths. Per 100 kilograms of usable plant protein, and there are other problems as well that get the number down even lower.
Mm-hmm. So
this is just.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, what were you saying?
It's just pseudoscience.
It's okay.
Complete nonsense.
And as an analogy, would it be kind of like if you're calculating the amount of people who like die in malls each year, and then you looked at a mall where someone walked in and started shooting people and they like killed everyone in the mall, and you like extrapolated that to the rest of the malls.
Yeah, it's like, well, you see, in this mall there was this mass like gang rob, like a drug bust, and then followed by a mass shooting, this many died. So if we just extrapolate that number to all the malls, then we can see that malls have a very high rate of human death.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it makes sense. If it happens in one mall, obviously it happens in all of them, especially if it's a unique occurrence, right? But okay, we can continue with the rest of this. Let's see what else he has, because he's already, he's got some high standards to live up to, considering what he's already said.
Rangelands beef. Over half the mice taken by predators after harvest, so that's 80% decrease in population. So either they're killed immediately, or they starve to death because they don't have their food source anymore.
Wait.
So there's so many more examples of this.
Huh?
Is there a citation for that? You'd have to look over that source. Over half of the mice taken by predators after. I remember this. This study. So basically, yeah. So again, you have to. So if you clear out any amount of land, you're going to expose some of the mice, and they are going to be predated upon. Notice that this applies to land that cattle are grazing on as well.
Yep.
So
yep.
what the study sites doesn't look at is, it's not a comparison between, okay, well, listen, if we graze the forage in a given land, whatever rodents are there, how many of them are going to be predated upon? And if we do this on cropland, what percentage of them are going to be predated upon? That's not what they're doing. They're just looking at the cropland, assuming the value is 0 for the animals that trample the forage and graze the forage. I don't know why we would assume that.
Okay.
You need some sort of comparison, but that's not what this is offering.
Okay. Also, Cognitive Dissonance said, have you ever considered contacting Archer or posting a short paper with these errors by Archer?
It's already been done.
Oh, okay. Also, sorry guys, I'm trying to check the chat as best as I can, but, I'm trying to multitask here, so I won't see everyone's messages and stuff, but...
Yeah. In my Discord channel, there's a published refutation of Archer posted there.
Oh, okay, that's good. There you go, Cog. Alright, let's keep going.
In population. So either they're killed immediately, or they starve to death because they don't have their food source anymore. So there's so many more examples of this, of people have probably heard this by now, of animals getting chopped up in the combines, or we're diverting huge waterways to create this land.
Just as a side note, he's also talking about the combines that are used to man the crops grown for animal feed, I would presume. I don't think he'll say that, but throwing it out there.
To grow monocrops, and it kills ecosystems. So many animals die that we can't even calculate from...
Wait, hold on. Let me let him finish this, actually.
The way we do monocrops, corn, wheat, and soy.
Okay. I just thought it was interesting how he brought up, so many animals die, we can't even, calculate it. Because my mind kind of immediately went to, how much marine life death we are responsible for. How many deaths of fish we are responsible for, and how we don't even actually know the exact number. We have to measure it in tons because we just literally kill so many. But I don't know. That was just...
I agree he can't calculate it. I mean, he was off by at least a factor of 40 something. So that much is true. But if he wants to make the claim that so many of them they're incalculatable, then he would need to. I don't know how he would go about making that case. I have no idea. But whatever he presented so far didn't do it.
Okay, let's keep going.
And it would need to be comparative. Again, you have to compare it to what is your other alternative in a standardized fashion.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I feel like responding to him is almost akin to bullying someone, just because what he's saying is has been so bad. But anyway, we can just keep going, I guess.
So the biggest question here is, what is the alternative? Right? So this is the big ethical argument is, well, we need an alternative. We can't just live off of air. So part of the story is that animals
what is our alternative? Here's the next. This is the next slide. Apex predator.
I wonder if that's what he's gonna do. he's gonna like say that we're like apex predators, like we have to eat these animals, or they'll like
or be killed. This is so low level.
Well,
oh my god.
I'm like trying not to jump to conclusions before he says it, but I do feel like that's where it's gonna go. It's like, well, these animals, they would have died a horrible death in nature if we weren't eating them. But you know, let's be nice. Let's see.
And it's not a good death. Animals don't just die of old age in an old cow's home, and you know, get like all their little meals for them and some morphine if they're feeling bad. They get eaten alive, or they get sick and die, or they starve to death. So that there is.
And if we weren't breeding them to feed your taste buds, they wouldn't go through that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to like clearly state that, to clearly state like what he's referring to are cows, to like take this scenario in nature. But you know, it's pretty clear it's what he's doing. But like whatever.
Like, if you think about this ethical argument, you have to think about the alternative. You can't just think, well, I don't want an animal to die for me to eat, because that's not the question. There's another idea here that we can...
Wait,
okay, so
he didn't even...
So that was it. Finish this point there. So, no. So just like, real quick, the alternative is they don't get bred into existence. The alternative is not that we're going to rewild the savannah with cows. Like, that's not what we're going to plan on doing. Fucking idiot.
Oh, ooh, spicy. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because I was sitting here waiting for him to clearly make a point, and he never really did. He just kind of said, well, animals in nature, they die bad deaths. And then he never really clearly stated what conclusion he was drawing from that about veganism, right? But I feel like we can safely assume that he was talking about like what the alternatives for cows would be. But I think this argument is so bad because it's like these cows aren't wild cows. We breed them into existence. They only exist in domestic situations. So if those domestic situations did not exist, neither would the cows. They wouldn't be out getting killed in nature. They wouldn't be out getting eaten alive or succumbing to disease because they wouldn't exist. But, all right, let's see. Let's continue.
Cell-based meat, plant-based, slop. We'll throw together.
Slop.
Imagine calling that slop, but an animal that spent its entire life being dragged through its piss and shit, and then being slaughtered, full of bacteria. Like, that's like prime.
Yeah, I wonder how he would define slop. I think that would be really funny.
Lab-made meat in a sterile environment. That's like slop, plant-based slop or whatever. Lab-made meat or plant-based slop, but the dragging of a cow through its own excrement, that's prime rib.
This does not work either. There are so many inputs. If you think about all the refrigeration, all the shipped in ingredients, the chemicals, the preservatives, all the stuff that's going on to make this meat, it's actually more, I think.
It's actually not. When you equalize the life cycle analysis and you standardize the inputs.
But also, this is the thing that people do where they fear-monger the idea of chemicals. They say, oh my god, it has chemicals in it, so it's bad. My dude, everything is chemicals. Saying something has chemicals is completely uninformative because anything you pick up will be composed of chemicals. And just because something has like some scary sounding name, which also sounds like the direction he's going with this, just because something has some scary sounding name that you can't pronounce doesn't suddenly mean it's bad for you. Like this is oh my god. Okay. Whatever. Let's keep going, see what other galaxy brain takes he has.
If you actually look at inputs, then it would take to just use regular beef, or let alone regeneratively grown beef. You can throw a cow on a pasture, you have sun, you have grass, and you have food. So I think
you also have a slaughterhouse where you've suddenly just taken an innocent individual, sent them to that slaughterhouse, and then stabbed them in the neck with a knife. Which is, the part that we skip with lab-grown meat. I would argue that it's the most relevant.
Thinking like the inputs of growing this quote-unquote regenerative nonsense is sun and grass. Like that's the extent of the life cycle analysis. Like what?
It's such a pretty picture.
Other inputs that go into that? like. No, I have. I have another debunk section about this in my Discord.
Oh, okay.
Of all the of white oaks. We don't have to go through it on stream because this is gonna go into depth. But if anyone's interested, I have an entire white oak pastures debunk about their carbon negative cattle, carbon sink though. What they did was they just did what other life cycle analyses did not do, which they artificially just drew the line and ignored all the other inputs. In fact, this is actually pretty good. Maybe we should go over this. I'll tag you in it.
Mm-hmm. Is it going to take a while?
Oh, if you want to know. Okay, you know, then we don't have to.
Well, yeah, because the only reason I ask is because I know I've watched some of your other live streams where you, like, systematically go through, like, claims and you, like, you could spend, like, 20 minutes on one.
That's fine. I know, that's fair. That's fair. All right, fine.
All right, and one other thing, I'm just going to quickly drop the link to my own Discord server in the live chat, just real quick. Okay, anyway, we can continue.
This is a terrible idea, and this was the wrong direction we should be going in. So here's another thing. We're kind of in this little world, you know, we're in America where we have nice air conditioning and this nice conference. But on a worldwide scale, livestock helps the billion poorest people the most.
No, wait, okay, how? Because I mean, we have literal populations of, like, poor people that live near factory farms, and I've included clips of this in my videos where I've talked about this. They live near these factory farms where the waste from the animals is, like, sprayed into their air and water. And they breathe this in constantly. And as you can imagine, it's not exactly the most, luxurious of living conditions or living situations. And then you also, anyway, I'm going to hold myself back. Let's just see what else he has to say.
And we can't ignore this. They rely on these animals for their livelihood. I mean, and they would think it's absurd for you to tell them that, oh, eating meat's bad for you, or what are you doing? That's bad for the environment.
Isn't, like, a staple food of the world's, like, kind of poorest people, like, plant foods, like beans and rice aren't usually...
The key here is to, like, what you need to show is that poorer people will be helped more. Well, first of all, first claim is, how are poor people helped more by using animal-based foods as opposed to growing plant-based foods or plant foods? That's claim one. Claim two, even if that's the case, imagine trying to justify that in a human context. Well, this is my job. My job is to slaughter you. Mm-hmm. Don't you want people to have jobs?
Oh yeah, that's true. I wonder if he is going down the job route. But yeah, that's a good point. Like, it would be nice to hear him clearly lay out how exactly it is animal agriculture helps poor people. Because I don't feel like he's clarified that. And this is a problem that I'm seeing with him throughout the video, is that he'll just kind of, refer to, like, vague notions of, like, things that make animal agriculture good, but he will not present, like, some clear statement that he is defending. He won't present some sort of clear argument that he defends. We saw this with the regenerative agriculture, and now we're seeing it again with this. And it's getting really frustrating because it's like, okay, let's continue.
Like, hey, I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to feed my family. What are you talking about? So here's one more. We have this alternative. People don't ever think about this. The products made from cattle, you think, oh yeah, we just get beef, and they're, like, doing all these calculations. Oh, look how much water it takes. Okay, what about all the products that we also make from the animal? We use the bones, we use the hide. None of the animal is wasted.
Yeah, imagine doing human, like, we also extract the teeth from the human, and we also, like, make figurines out of their eyeballs, and we even make, like, we use their toenails to pick things. And, like, we're not wasting things. Like, all of the human is used.
Mm-hmm. And also...
Like, imagine, who cares?
And kind of in addition to this, it's like, okay, so we use a lot of the animal and we make a lot of products from it. He's saying this, it's like a sort of refutation to the idea that animal agriculture is resource intensive, therefore it's bad. Well, there's more nuance to that claim, right? Like, the claim is more so animal agriculture is more resource intensive and veganism is less resource intensive. So it's like, okay, wonderful, we get all these products from the animal, but what you would actually have to demonstrate if you're, supposedly debunking this argument is that animal agriculture is in fact not more resource intensive when compared to the producing all of these products in a sort of vegan friendly manner. Anyway.
Also, what anti-aging cream is made from the brain?
Oh,
I'm like anti-aging creams are by and large BS, but if I could find out which ones are made from the brain, I would love to dunk that on vegans who are all about those anti-aging creams.
Dunk it on vegans who are all about anti-aging creams?
Yeah, it's one of the things that people who go on about anti-aging creams, it's one of the dermatology things. They're by and large BS. They don't work. But if I can meet one of these vegans who are about the anti-aging cream pseudoscience, and I can point them out to the by the way, your anti-aging cream, that's made from cow brain.
Well, presumably they would be using vegan anti-aging creams, right?
Presumably.
Yeah. Okay. We can continue.
I mean, it's amazing how many are. There's more than this. I don't know if it's too small to read, but there are probably hundreds and hundreds of products that would all have to take synthetic inputs. We'd be using fossil fuels, we'd be using plastics, we'd be using all these other things to try to accomplish this.
Okay. Again, it's it's not a matter of stating if we produce this in the vegan way, then this is the process by which we would produce it. If you're responding to the specific claim that vegans make about the intense, the resource intense nature of animal agriculture, you have to compare the non-vegan way of producing these things to the vegan way of producing things. Just to say that we would use fossil fuels to produce it, that, okay, so that's not really relevant. What's relevant here is that comparison, but whatever.
And that is the exact opposite of what we want to do. So basically, the message is cows can save the world.
Not what? You literally did not demonstrate that in the slightest. It's he sits here and he doesn't make arguments. He just vaguely describes ideas, and we kind of have to infer what he's saying because he won't tell us explicitly. He uses fallacies. He proposes solutions that are not scalable. He uses pseudoscience to back up his claims, and then at the end he's like, "See, I proved it. I proved cows will save the world." No, you have not.
Save human health. As we've presented, Dr. Eads did a great job of.
Okay. Again, he kind of already admitted towards the beginning part of this video that you can be healthy and be a vegan or plant-based eater or whatever. So, okay, what else? Anyway, sorry.
Showing us how, through all of history, this is what we've been eating, and it continues to be.
Cave paintings, though. This is the cave paintings, though, argument. We saw them kill animals in the cave paintings, so we should kill animals now. Okay.
Be a human health food. Cows can save on healthcare costs if we just all started maybe eating more beef and
not. No, they absolutely will not. That is complete nonsense.
Let's see how he's going to substantiate that. Let's see.
Maybe we replace the cereal or the bread with some more beef. I'm saying everyone has to be a carnivore. No, we don't have to be Sean Baker, crushing steaks for breakfast. But we can replace some of these harmful foods, and we can change our health. They can change
for the worse.
Yeah. And even if that were true, which it sounds like it's not, even if it were true that replacing cereal with red meat would be beneficial to your health, again, that's not the relevant question here. The relevant question here, if you're debunking veganism, which you claim to be doing, would be whether it's possible to be healthy on as a vegan. Are there healthy vegan ways to replace their foods? And again, you kind of already admitted at the beginning part of the video that there is. It's he's presenting this false dichotomy, right? It's either eat unhealthy foods that aren't red meat or eat red meat. It's what? Those are not the only two options. Why can't you just eat healthy vegan foods? Okay.
Environment, we can use this land in a different way. Instead of corn, wheat, and soy, we have the land, we have millions and millions of acres. If we could figure out a system, some sort of incentive system where farmers could be rewarded for some people call like a carbon credit, where if you regenerate the soil, then we can give these people compensation for that instead of...
It's kind of funny to listen to him talk about regenerative farming again when he actually failed to explain why it would actually be a good thing when he brought it up before.
When we looked at those numbers, he didn't have enough land. We looked at those how many million acres it would take. It's not true. Again, repeats the false claim. And then goes to like, if we just had incentives. Well, what if you had incentives for regeneration for plant farming, like apples to apples?
All right.
Giving them subsidies for growing corn, wheat, and soy, we can give them subsidies to change their operation to use animals, use regenerative agriculture, rotational grazing, holistic management, whatever you want to call it. And then,
sorry, I wanted to point out the kind of irony we see here. I just wanted to point out the kind of irony we see here when he's talking about redirecting subsidies when like we have, how much is it, billions or trillions of dollars worth of subsidies going towards animal agriculture, and like a fraction of that is going towards like, raising or growing vegan foods. But sorry, that's where my mind went. I wanted to point it out because I just found that to be pretty ironic. Because imagine what we could do if we redirected the subsidies that go towards animal agriculture and directed those towards, vegan agriculture. Anyway.
And lastly, is the ethical part is there really is no alternative. And it's just
What? Wait.
What?
There's no alternative to raising animals for food? How about not raising them for food?
It's an absurd thought. It's sort of this pie in the sky like ideal that, like a vegan in a coffee shop will tell some other vegan.
Okay, he's talking about vegans being idealistic when the solutions he's proposing are totally not scalable, like at all. Like he's talking about, how these wonderful farms are, oh my god, look at all this land the animals have and it's so beautiful. And he seems to be implying, and I have to say seems to be implying because this dude is like allergic to making clear arguments, but he seems to be implying that we could just scale that up, right? And it would be magical. That we could just, give these animals all sorts of land and maintain production that meets the current demand for animal products, and it'd be so awesome.
Yeah, I think he might have something known as a stunted thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be inclined to agree with that. And then he has the nerve to call us idealistic. Okay.
In a coffee shop that has never visited a farm, has never, seen this.
Okay.
Never visited a farm, though.
No, you don't have to visit a farm to look at the science, right? You don't have to visit a farm to form, moral conclusions about killing animals, right? You don't, it's just... This is so, I see them do this all the time. Farmers be like, well, all these vegans who've never visited a farm and they think what we're doing is bad. It's like, well, I don't have to visit a farm to arrive at the conclusion that taking a cow and slitting their throat is a morally reprehensible thing to do. Like, what?
That'd be like a human slaughterhouse. Like, it'd be like, well, they're in human farms and slaughterhouses. Be like, well, listen, you've never actually visited one of my humans, okay? Checkmate.
Also, there are vegans who have visited farms. I know Ellie's in the chat. She has visited farms and taken her own footage of these farms and used them in her videos. Earthling Ed has videos where he visits dairy farms. Vegans visit farms all the time, and they're still vegan. Okay.
I've been to these farms. I know these people. They love their animals. They care for them. It's their number one priority to keep them healthy. Of course it is. It's how they make a living. And of course they're not insane psychopaths. They don't want to.
Okay. They keep the animals healthy. Let's grant that. They're still bolt gunning them in the head at the end of their lives, right? It's how they make their living. Okay. But the problem here is not that they're making a living. The problem here is they're making their living by bolt gunning animals in the head. just like put it into context a little bit.
How they earn their livelihood, though.
Yeah.
So I think the main problem is the disconnection between nature and humans living in cities.
Okay. I wouldn't really say that corralling animals with electric fences and then sending them out to slaughterhouses to die, where they'll die, with a knife to the throat or a bolt gun through the brain, I wouldn't necessarily call that natural either. But perhaps it's just my B12 deficient vegan brain inhibiting my judgment.
And why would we ever care about disconnect with nature? Good. I hope I am disconnected from nature.
Yeah, I mean,
hope you have disconnections with nature. Nature is terrible.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't particularly want to be eaten alive while my guts spill out and I lay there for hours in agony, completely aware of my own pain. But I mean, I guess everyone has their own opinions, right?
The lovely woman who I interviewed is writing a book about death, and she thinks this is like the biggest thing, is that we are disconnected from death. If we were, all these problems in society are kind of around meat are basically because we are so disconnected in the past.
Okay.
I think you guys that are opposed to my human farming system and slaughtering the humans. I think that's just because you have this problem where you're disconnected from death. If you just got in touch with death more, you really wouldn't have a problem with it.
I know, it's again, just imagine this in the human context. Imagine someone deciding to just walk into a store and murder humans and be like, well, I think the reason you guys don't like it is because you're disconnected from death. I'd be like, no, the reason we don't like it is because you've just murdered all of those people for no good reason when you don't have to. And obviously, again, I should put a disclaimer, there's more nuance to that. It's not a matter of unnecessary or necessary. Obviously, it's a matter of deontological rights violations, but speaking casually, it's okay.
Before a child would even learn to talk, they would have seen dozens of deaths. They would have seen their family kill a chicken or a cow for their food, and it would be part of their life. Now we have vegans in coffee shops trying to say that it's somehow not human, and they're trying to rewrite history. And that's...
This guy's so dumb. I'm sorry, he's so low level.
Okay. What? Rewrite history.
If only your children were able to see me slaughtering farming humans and slaughtering them. Then you wouldn't have a problem with it. All you you people who have a problem with slaughtering humans, you're just with your coffee, you're eating your Starbucks with your mocha frappuccino, really, you just grew up seeing me slaughter the humans. You would be in touch with reality and what we're actually about. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What a brain dead argument. What a level 0 carnist argument.
And I wonder, again, because I think it would be very interesting to get the specifics of what he's talking about, I wonder exactly how he is defining rewrite history, because I feel like if he were to define that, his argument would fall apart even quicker than it already has. Because it would probably have to do with something along the lines of straying from what nature intended. Which of course we can revert back to what nature intended again through the use of electric fences and bolt guns. But anyway,
that's it. That's my message. I think we should not listen to them.
We should not listen to them. Thank you for coming to my talk, everybody.
This is one of the most brain dead carnist. I mean, it's from one of these. Where is it from? Low carb Denver.
It's something about low carb.
Denver. So yeah, I mean, it's not surprisingly completely devoid of anything intellectually honest or intelligent at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I guess I should have known what I was coming into. Yeah, these were just level 0 meme after level 0 meme.
I know, and it's just the confidence with which he is proposing these ideas. It's sad. It's sad. But we have 10 seconds left. Let's see what he has in his last 10 seconds.
I'm making a film called Food Lies, and
ooh, I wonder if it's out yet. I'm gonna Google it. Food Lies. Oh, wait, I think it is out. I'm on the website right now.
Oh, Nick Hybert debated this. Is this the guy Nick Hybert debated? I think Nick Hybert debated him, and it just totally destroyed him.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I mean... Wait.
Oh, I think he invited me to debate him, and it turned out, like, once he found out my friend was Nick Hybert, I think he, like, didn't do it.
Really?
Oh, I actually know this guy. Is this Brian Sanders?
I don't know what his name is. Oh,
this
is?
is Brian Sanders.
You know him?
Oh, Nick Hybert spanked the floor with this guy. He debated him. Totally destroyed him.
Oh my god. I mean, it's funny to think about, but it's also unsurprising. Because when your argument is crop deaths, though, and here is a graph about regenerative farming with no further context, like, you probably wouldn't be that hard to beat in a debate, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, he was just clueless in the debate against Nick.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Completely clueless. And I was like, they tried to set me up with a debate with him, and he was like, and then once he found it was with Nick, it didn't happen. But yeah, I was like, wow, this guy is just completely brain dead.
Is that debate recorded?
Yeah, it is. You can actually check it out. Nick Hybert has a recorded debate with him. Just completely spanks him.
Yeah, that would be super funny to watch. Like, see this guy in a proper debate setting. Oh my god, that sounds hilarious. But let's see what these last few seconds have in store.
We'll be exploring all of these things. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oops. Oops. Okay. That was fun. I'll be in the color rich from Big Derm Bucks, right? I need money. Oh yeah, we're big Derm shells. That's why we're here, dunking on the slow carp dude. Why are people clapping? I don't know. You know what would be super funny too is if someone in the audience just started contesting these ideas as he was saying them. I would pay money to see that happen and just like watch him.
If I like at one point made a video like this, like a presentation like this, and I knew what I know now, like I would be embarrassed. Like I would actually be going to the organization and just sending them email after email to take the video down.
Yeah.
Or I would make like a huge public video, like everywhere, like just announcing that I don't hold to these views anymore. Like I would be genuinely embarrassed to be saying that, making the arguments he's making, and saying the making the claims he's making. Just genuinely, I would just genuinely be like, yeah, just embarrassed.
Mm-hmm. Did he admit defeat in that debate with Nick by any chance? Like, did he concede?
Of course he didn't. I mean, no, he's not an honest actor.
Okay. I mean, I was just curious, you know, maybe there was some hope. But he has like a whole film called Food. I wonder if he cites, it'd be so funny if he cited those same studies in the film. Here's some interesting things based on new science. Fat doesn't make you fat. Okay, I would actually agree with that. Well-sourced red meat isn't bad for you. I actually don't know the health consequences of red meat and, like, you know, how much you'd have to eat to have negative health outcomes. I won't talk about that.
It is bad for you, and we can go into that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I try not to make empirical claims about, like, the health stuff because I just don't know, you know, and, like, I think I've told you this before, like, if I say something on my channel, I want to be able to, like, defend it. So if someone asked me to start defending that stuff, I couldn't do it. Oh, he features Sean Baker in the film! Oh my god. Do I know any? Oh, Michaela Peterson is in it? That's funny. Dave Feldman, you debated Dave, didn't you, about something?
Oh, yeah, Dave. Look at all these people. Look at Dave Feldman. Yep, I debated him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Who else is here? Ted Naiman, of course, a complete idiot. Gary Taubes, of course. Ivor Cummins, a guy who always avoids debating me. He's always text cucks. He completely avoids debate with me. Of course, Michaela Peterson.
It's so funny. Chat's just like freaking out at these names. It's so funny. It's like I empathize with you guys right now. Like I relate to this. I like the art though. The art is nice. I like the hot air balloon. That's the pineapple. That's a nice touch. And the baguettes clouds. I like that too. The misconceptions. Many people believe our ancestors lived a short and miserable life without proper nutrition. Some question why we should model our diet. Well, actually, I don't believe that. I don't necessarily believe our ancestors lived these horrible lives because from what I know, I believe our ancestors actually lived relatively, like, healthful, nutritionally adequate lives, and it wasn't until the introduction of, like, cities and domestic agriculture, like, widespread domestic agriculture, that our nutrition started declining, because people were just eating bread all the time. Because bread was, like, touted as, like, this pure food that, pure people eat. And then people separated, the quote-unquote civilized people who ate bread from the quote-unquote barbarians, who were, like, the hunter-gatherers,
he's saying that's a misconception. So I don't think he's making that claim. But regardless, the lifespan of hunter-gatherer populations was lower, considerably lower than our average lifespan, even when controlling for infant mortality or things like that.
Mm-hmm. But I would assume that their quality of life... I shouldn't say quality of life. I should say quality of nutrition was probably not that bad, from what I know.
How you're measuring quality of nutrition.
Oh, okay.
We can get into that, and so it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to live to your fertile years, to be 40 or whatnot, and then just go downhill from there, I agree that might be a pretty good diet for that. If your goal is to live a long, healthy lifespan to old age, I don't agree that the diets that many of our ancestors have engaged in are a good strategy.
Okay.
You can look into pleiotropic antagonism if anyone's interested for why that is.
Okay, because I thought that maybe they're they didn't live a long time because perhaps they died from external factors like warfare or getting mauled by predators, but that... I mean, maybe that's a topic for a different time, but... articles and studies. Sorry, vegans, here's how meat eating made us human. Okay, let's click on that. What's it got? Wait, this isn't a study. This is a... Oh, no. It said articles and studies.
In fact, very few of them are actual studies.
Really? Let's see. Times, Discovery Magazine. Okay. Oh, God. Wait, did they say PETA? Okay, yeah, I don't want to go through this. Maybe some other time. I mean, it's probably just a lot of the same stuff that he said in the video. But... is there anything else we can dunk on him for? It's the film. Like, at this point, we're just having fun, right? We're, like, not even going through the video, but... do you have to buy it? Wait. How do you even get to the... I don't care. I really don't care. Anyway, I think I've said everything that I would want to say. Unless you have any, like, closing thoughts, probably just end the stream.
I mean, the guy's just an idiot.
I think that is the takeaway here, isn't it? Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I think Isaac announced this in the AOI Discord, because I think I saw Cog Dis reference that, and Isaac also reached out to me about help with OBS, and I didn't respond to him because I was dealing with a live stream, but thank you, Isaac, for that anyway, even though I neglected to message you back, but thank you. And I guess that just wraps everything up. So thank you guys very much for tuning in, and I'll see you later. And thank you, Avi, for stopping by for our first ever collab. How exciting!
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Nicole.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even have to stress thinking about what we were going to collab on because it kind of just came naturally. How fun is that? But
every relationship should be.
Yeah, just like us, or the nature of our collab is like the nature of our relationship. But anyway, thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll see you later.